Here it comes. Ace Attorney investigations before Ace Attorney investigations. Hello, welcome back to Peace Storm. I am Pluvius Lilon, and today we're playing Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. And right now we are playing as Edgeworth. We're about to head to the first trial of Episode 5, Bridge to the Turnabout. Oh my, Mr. Lariche feels that way about me? Apparently, he isn't aware of your real secret at all. This is no time to be embarrassed. I'm sorry. I'm just hardly accustomed to that sort of thing. Worry not. And in any case, whatever it was he saw on the night of the incident, mark my words, I will drag it out of him. Does that mean Mr. Lariche is the witness today? No. I believe that none will be the first to take the stand. Sister Bikini. She claims to have seen the very instant in which you carried out the crime. I just want to ask you one last time. It really wasn't you who killed Miss Elise Donim, was it? It really wasn't you who killed Miss Elise Donim, correct? That is correct. It wasn't me. Very well then. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes? You're a prosecutor, aren't you? Are you sure about this? If your true identity is revealed... Don't worry. I've made the necessary arrangements. I see. Iris. It is a prosecutor's job to doubt people. But right now, I'm a defense attorney. A defense attorney's job is to believe in people, and to believe until the bitter end. That's what my friend told me once. Mr. Edgeworth, I simply ask that you watch and decide for yourself whether or not I am fit to do the task I've been entrusted. Very well, sir. I leave my defense in your capable hands. Court is now in session for the trial of Sister Iris of Hazakura Temple. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The defense does indeed appear to be ready. However, the same cannot be said for the prosecution in this case. Indeed. I'm not sure I like such a blatant waste of this court's time. Imagine... Imagine if instead of just... I'm like... Today the prosecution will be the ghost who never lies. Ghost who never lies. Did Iris do it? I rest my case, Your Honor. An empty prosecutor's chair can only mean that the prosecutor has no confidence in their ability to prove their case. It would seem that this case is already over before it even had a chance to begin. I'm ready to announce my verdict this time. This court finds the defendant... Fuck! The prosecution stands ready. And you are... Franziska von Karma, prosecuting prodigy. Von Karma, you say? Perchance, you wouldn't be of any relation to the legendary prosecutor Manfred von Karma. Legends are a thing of the past. I am a von Karma, that is all. Upon a special request, I flew in today for the purposes of prosecuting this case. You did? Then you must be quite a big shot, eh? By the way, Mr. Edgeworth. Yes, Your Honor. I'm almost certain that I've seen you somewhere before. Or am I just imagining things? You look very much like a prosecutor I met once. I believe you are imagining things, Your Honor. Miss Von Karma, do you have anything to say? There is no such weakling as this man among those of the prosecutor's office. There isn't? But I'm sure once before in this court... I told you there is no such weakling. What is that? A whip? I'm not sure I care for such a thing in my courtroom. Bailiff, remove that whip, but... I have no objection to the whip. You don't? The prosecution can wield a whip or drink... The prosecution can wield a whip or drink 17 cups of coffee, but there's still only one truth. That is what I stand here to prove today. Cursed canvas flip. Cursed canvas flip. This promises to be interesting, Miles Edgeworth. I'd expected to face Phoenix Wright here today, but looking at you now, maybe this is what I've been waiting for all this time. Miles Edgeworth, I will not allow this chance to crush you slip through my fingers. I see you brought your flair for the histrionic. Allow me to add to the things I'm not sure about. People acting bizarrely in my court. The stage is set. Now continue with the proceedings, Your Honor. Very well. Miss Von Karma, please give an outline of this case. With as little whippings as possible. The murder victim is the famed picture book author, Miss Elise Dunham. Her body was found in the Hazakura Temple courtyard. She had been stabbed through the torso by a ceremonial sword from a gold statue. The sword in this picture is the weapon in question, correct? Very well. The court accepts this photo of the crime scene. There's no mistake. This was the doing of Sister Iris. After all, there's a witness to her crime. Very well. Please bring this witness to the stand. And so it begins. My first and last trial as a defense attorney. Witness, state your name and occupation, please. Hold on there. I'm not sure about being sure if I care for this at all. What? Witness, please stand up nice and straight. If I recall correctly, there are a few milk crates in the defendant's lobby for our back pain-plagued witness. Bailiff, fetch a crate for this poor lady, please. Once again, your name and occupation, please. Little old me? Well, I'm the head nun of Hazakura Temple on Eagle Mountain. My name is Bikini. You got it? Bikini. Nice to meet everyone. But you don't appear to be wearing a bikini right now. Ugh! The courtroom is the garden of holy judgment. Those with lechery in their hearts should leave this sanctuary at once. You want me to leave? No need to get your bikinis in a twist. Let me tell you, I'm a sight to behold in summer. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, she is pretty cute. How old is she anyway? 48. She's like a baby. Okay. I mean, it... In any case, witness, I hear that you saw the crime take place on the night in question. That's right. I can still hardly believe it myself, to be honest. There's no way dear little Iris would do anything like that. Let us hear what you have to say, then. First, tell us about your own movements that night, eh? Yeah, I mean, I mean, myself, it's only been 30-something years since I was cursed by the 20-year goat, but... Yeah, I mean, hey, you know... If she's 48, I'm 48. That night I was helping an acolyte with her training in the inner temple, but... Well, as you can see, my back likes to act up, violently. So I left Iris to help the acolyte and returned to Hazakura Temple. There's no bath at the inner temple, you see, and I needed a long, hot soak. It was after I had finished. Just as I was heading back, that's when I saw it. So it was simply coincidence that you found yourself returning to Hazakura Temple? Yes, you could say that. If my back hadn't been in so much pain, I would have stayed at the inner temple. That sounds like a pretty important statement she just made. There's only one problem with his testimonies that I can see. And you're not about to fall at the first hurdle, now are you, Mr. Miles Edworth? Mr. Edgeworth, please begin your cross-examination. Yeah, it sounds important. The crime took place in the courtyard, correct? When you go from my room to the main hall, you have to take a winding hallway from which you can see the courtyard. That's right. In other words, it was pure coincidence that the witness saw the crime taking place before her eyes. There was no complicated setup in this case. That certainly seems to be true. There's indeed only one problem with this testimony. If I can clearly point out what it is, then I can begin to quantify just how good this witness's memory and observation skills are. What is this inner temple? Well, see, conversing with the spirits is what we train people to do, right? We'll be the ones asking the questions, madam. In order to do that, a place strong in spiritual power is required. There's a small temple across Dusky Bridge called the Inner Temple. Acolytes must spend an entire night there to undergo intense training. And how exactly do you help with this process? It's all quite exacting. It can't be performed without a nun supervising. Like a tutor watching to make sure a spoiled child studies. A tutor with a whip in your case. If that is the case, then why did you return to Hazakura Temple where the murder took place? Violently? That's right. It's no laughing matter, especially in winter. I can't hold anything heavier than a knife and fork during the cold months. Just being alive is like strict training. Tell me about it. I woke up this morning. I say this morning, but it was less than an hour ago. I woke up with such awful leg cramps. Like, it was hurting so fucking bad that I thought it might be a blood clot. I'm not even kidding. I mean, I'm fine now, but holy shit. On the night of the murder, was this fabulous back of yours hurting again? That's right. Raging like a bull in a pig pen. I almost fainted once or twice. I just knew that unless I warmed it up, it was going to finally finish me off. You left Iris to help. With what? What do you think? The Acolytes training, of course. It was just past 10 p.m., so we were starting to enter into the training exercises proper. Wasn't it your place to remain with the disciple? Well, the job is simply to watch over the Acolytes so they don't pass away. Just to confirm this point again, that night, you met Iris in the Inner Temple, correct? Yes. She's a gentle, honest girl. She's never once failed to follow my directions. So you returned to the Hazakura Temple in order to take a bath. My back is to blame for everything. It's a do-or-be-done-in kind of world, after all. How long were you in the bath for, if you don't mind me asking? My, what a filthy little rogue you are. I know what's on your mind. I bet your next question is going to be, where exactly did you wash? This is why you have to watch the young ones. What are you going on about? I was... Ugh! Pathetic, Miles Edworth. The lowest of the low. Is there some sort of kick-me sign stuck to the defense's bench? Anyway, I couldn't afford to be away from my post for too long, you understand, so... Alright, so pressing did absolutely nothing. I guess I'll just... Witnesses have to undergo their own trials, I'm afraid. The defendant's fate rests on their powers of observation and memory, after all. Well, 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 don't worry. I'm more than up to the task. I'm a woman of faith, after all, the head honcho of Hazakura Temple. In that case, Miss Honcho, I'd like you to explain something for me. The discrepancy between your testimony and that of the defendant, Iris. She claims that after ringing the lights out bell, she went back and stayed in her room. Which means she did not go to the inner temple at all. No, she said that? A defendant or witness? Who is more likely to lie, do you suppose? The defendant is simply lying to cover her back. But that is completely illogical. The murder was committed in the courtyard of Hazakura Temple. Claiming that she went to the inner temple would make for a much better alibi. But that is odd. Whatever the reason, I can't believe she would lie. She does indeed have honest eyes. Ugh! All people lie. That is my belief. Why am I the only one being whipped in here? Anyway, neither the witness nor the defendant have any reason to lie. Which means... you must call your memory into question. Dear, dear, dear. You're older than me, and yet you want to play that game, do you? Well, that isn't exactly what I... My memory is perfect, crystal clear, especially in winter. Then, I suppose it's too early to end this cross-examination, eh? Mr. Edgeworth, if you're going to question the memory of this witness, you'll need to show me a more decisive piece of evidence. Understood, Your Honor. I was naive to think that alone would do the trick. Then please add your comments about Iris to the testimony. Let us return to the cross-examination. That night I was helping an... Oh. Iris came to the inner temple. She was dressed exactly like she had been at dinner. Are you sure that you're not making a mistake? You, young man, need to get your estimation of me up from the floor. Iris always wears the same clothes. The smallest thing out of place would have stood out like a sore thumb to me. You're making a mistake, thinking I made a mistake. An excellent finish there, witness. Still, I have to wonder... what am I presenting here? Oh, Iris's hood. Witness, let's get one thing straight. The defendant whom you claim to have met, she was wearing this demon-warding hood, correct? Of course. That's a very important piece of clothing, I'll have you know. Wait a minute. Hold it right there. Why do you have that? That's the question of the day now, isn't it, Miss Von Karma? I'll have you know that this hood was given to someone as a gift that night, before the lights-out bell was rung. What? You know where I'm going with this, don't you? If the witness had seen the defendant as she claims, then the Iris she saw would have been missing this very hood. Well, well, well! It's not a bad feeling at all, exposing contradictions like this. Now I understand that happy look on Wright's face every time he does it. Order! Order in the court! Witness, your response... Sister, this hood. You have spare ones around the temple, don't you? The spares, well... I do tend to make too many of them. I see. A stockpile. A surplus of hoods, eh? Each nun is only given one hood. This should be the only hood that Iris owned. And this is quite strange. Wah! If there was a surplus of hoods, then she could have worn one of those. There's no contradiction there. I'm sorry to break this to you, Miss Von Karma, but you won't get away that easily. Discrepancies such as this will sow seeds in any human heart. The seeds of doubt. Witness? Well, I don't wish to call your testimony into doubt. You must give every detail with precision. I'm not sure I'm comfortable going along with this. Sister, you shall continue with your testimony. Tell us what you saw after finishing your bath on your day back to the inner temple. Those seeds of doubt are sprouting in the judge's heart. They just need a little more stimulation to bear fruit. Contradictory stimulation. I finished my bath around 11, and I thought I should return to the inner temple. Then as I was walking back, I heard a noise from the courtyard. I took a look, and Iris was... Oh, Mystic Elise. And with that sword of all things. Mystic Elise was staying in the corner room, which faces out onto the courtyard. The stabbing I saw must have occurred after she was pushed out of her window. You saw a truly terrible sight, didn't you? If I was in your place, then it would be much like Miss Von Karma whipping Mr. Edgeworth in two in court. And me seeing it all from this very chair. Well, something like that. This judge, his imagination is about as vivid and creative as Detective Gumshoe. I would look the fool if I commented on such foolishness. Anyways, this case is mine, Miles Edgeworth. Calling everyone by their full name. Can't you do something about that habit of yours? How far is it from your room to the inner temple? Let me think for a moment. About 20 minutes on these stumps of mine. It's about 15 minutes to Dusky Bridge from Hazakura Temple. The inner temple is just beyond the bridge. Still, you never made it back there that night, did you? That's right. I was heading along the walkway toward the main hall. You say you heard a noise. Thump, just like that. That could only be the sound of the victim falling. It's very quiet in the temple, you know. You can even hear the snow falling from the branches. Thump, just like that. But then, couldn't this noise you heard have been snow falling on the ground? I mean, snow isn't that heavy. I never thought of that. Ha 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 ha! Ho 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 ho! The next one to laugh gets a whipping. Well, whatever the source of the sound, I looked over at the courtyard and... This is the second time that the witness has testified to seeing the defendant. But some doubt remains in these claims. Hey, just what does that mean? Just because you're a good-looking young man doesn't give you the right to... The murderer who stabbed the victim with the sword. Sister Bikini, try to recall exactly who it was you saw, as clearly as you can. Well, you're a handsome young man, so I'll forgive you. Oh, now that you mention it, there was something awfully strange about her. Something that has been bugging me all this time. Please, don't keep us in suspense. Her hood. Her hood? That's right. It's coming back to me.
Iris, she wasn't wearing her hood. I thought something was out of place, but it all makes sense now, doesn't it? After all, she'd given that hood away to someone, right? Ha! You've dug your own grave, Miles Edgeworth.
What do you say, Mr. Edgeworth? Is this testimony important?
I don't know, is it? Let me see here. It doesn't seem to say so.
This line of questioning is only going to tear the wound open further. These statements are as useless as the investigations of a certain detective. There's no need to record them. Very well. Please continue with your testimony. The room the victim was staying in overlooked the courtyard, correct? Which means the victim's room was on the second floor?
No. Hazakura Temple is a single-story building. But the mountain itself slopes downward, which elevates the main gate side of the temple and the guest rooms in the back to about the height of a 2-story building.
I see. And the victim was staying in one of those elevated rooms, correct?
Yes, I should know. I'm the one who carried her things to her room, after all.
What makes you so sure of all this?
It's just like I told you earlier. I heard a noise from the courtyard, okay? Thump, just like that. You're one smart sister, I'll give you that. The autopsy report states that the victim's body was covered in bruises, indicating a fall from around 10 feet in height.
It appears that the witness was not mistaken, then.
Yep. I'm more than just a pretty face, especially in winter. I'm a woman of faith, after all, the head honcho of Hazakura Temple.
There's only 2 of them working there.
What's wrong, Miles Edgeworth? No snappy comeback remark?
It doesn't feel like she's lying. This is very powerful testimony, too. She claims to have seen the instant in which the defendant stabbed the victim. There are only 2 things I can believe in right now. My client, Iris, and my own abilities as a defense attorney. Impressive logic. That's what I'd like to say, anyway.
Oh, please do. My brain is something else, especially in winter.
However, I think you are overlooking one thing. Miss Von Karma, would you be so kind as to take a look at the autopsy report?
Is the autopsy report?
The victim did fall from a height of 10 feet. However, this fall was after she was killed. That's right. It says after death right here. The scene the witness claims to have seen is contradictory. If the defendant stabbed and killed the victim there in the courtyard, how did the victim then go on to take a 10-foot fall? Order! The victim was killed and then fell. If that's the case, then the victim must have been killed in her room, don't you agree?
That is a logical conclusion. Yes, that's right. The victim must have been stabbed by the defendant in her own room, and she was then thrown out of her window down into the courtyard below.
Were there any signs of a struggle in Miss Donham's room? She was stabbed with a sword. That would leave a blood stain, don't you agree? Well, Miss Von Karma, was there any blood?
Gah! No traces of blood were found in the victim's room.
Your whip has just caused traces of blood to be found on my glorious playoff beard. However, if there was no blood in the room, then your claim that...
I'm sure there's no need for me to go over this, as I'm sure your honor is well aware of when a stab wound procures the most blood. When it produces the most blood? Very little blood is actually lost at the moment of a blade's insertion. If you want to talk about when the most blood would be lost from a body, that would be when the blade is removed. Indeed, with the weapon still in place, it acts as a lid on the wound. That's true. With the weapon still in the body, there wouldn't be much bleeding. A perfectly reasonable line of thinking. We have come to a conclusion then. The victim was thrown out of the window with the sword still in place. This removes all of the contradictions. Order! Order! I must admit this is a probable version of events. I'd expect no less from Franziska von Karma. She locates and takes control of every vital point. It seems that we need a clearer testimony from the witness. Remove all supposition on your part and tell us only the facts, please. Witness, please, remain standing on the crate. Don't go selling me short now. The weight of winter snow has me bent out of shape. Especially my back and my mood. Sister, please give us your testimony. I will give you a vigorous massage once we are finished here. With the whip? Oh boy. Alright, alright. When I looked across at the scene, the sword was already in place. Thinking about it now, I didn't actually see her stab Mystic Elise. I've never seen so much blood before. That's when I fainted. You can't blame me, can you? And when I woke, Mystic Ami was stabbing Mystic Elise through the back. This all confirms Miss Von Karma's theory. Von Karma strive for nothing but perfection. Putting together such facts is nothing for me. You should know that, Miles Edgeworth. Perfection is an impossibility, Franziska von Karma. I'm here to teach you just that. At that time, was the victim bleeding? Well, I was very shocked at seeing all this, of course. So I'm not entirely sure. But I don't think I saw any blood. Not then. I'm sure that you didn't. The weapon was acting as a plug in the wound. In any case, let's be clear on one very important point. Did you actually see the instant in which the victim was stabbed? Think carefully. This is very important. But Iris... It's Iris we're talking about here. I'm thinking for all I'm worth. No, when I looked over, the sword was already in Mystic Elise's body. It might not be conclusive, but... this testimony supports her theory. The victim was stabbed in her room and then dropped into the courtyard. I think this proves it rather well, Miles Edgeworth. So you're saying that you saw the victim's blood? That's right. Some of it had splattered onto Iris, too. When the defendant was arrested, she was meditating in her room, and her blood-flecked clothing was neatly folded into the corner. What? Her clothes were blood-flecked as well? That seems quite conclusive to me. What should I do? Press this point further? Yeah. Going back to your previous statement, you said that you saw a little bleeding. You said you saw little bleeding when the victim was stabbed. But now, you say you saw the victim bleeding? Well, I say that what I saw is what I saw. What did you see? Maybe I didn't see the poor woman get stabbed, but I saw the girl pull the sword out of her, plain as day.
pulling the sword out?
Well, it wasn't exactly pulling. It was more like it came out.
Witness, you'll add this statement to your testimony.
Was it that important?
More important than you can imagine. Smoothly, you say? You're saying you saw the sword smoothly slide out?
That's right. The whole thing happened right next to the gold statue of Mystic Ami. Mystic Elise was on the ground. Iris was stooped over her. The sword was buried up to the hilt. When Iris stood up, the sword in her hand just slid out of Mystic Elise's body. It slid out from that gaping wound.
It goes without saying that if the sword was removed, there would be bleeding.
Nothing out of place here.
Is that really the case? I can't help but feel that something about this testimony is very out of place. That something which couldn't possibly have happened appears to have happened. I don't know why, but... Sister Bikini, you're a reliable witness. At least I'd like to think so. But there are too many contradictions here.
What do you mean? You make it sound as though I'm a liar. But you're a handsome young man, so I'll forgive you.
What contradictions are you talking about? In that scene the witness claims to have seen, the weapon was thrust up to its hilt into the victim. Furthermore, the killer withdrew the weapon smoothly from the body. However, both of these are complete impossibilities. What do you mean? Please explain.
Explain yourself.
To start with, do you think it would be possible to stab someone to the hilt with this? No matter how I look at the defendant, she doesn't appear strong enough for that.
Doesn't appear? What meaningless dribble? I too may appear to be weak and frail, but I can crush men under my heel and make them weep should I so choose.
The objection stands. I wept a little back there, I must admit. That isn't the only issue here. If this sword was truly stabbed into the body up to the hilt, well, just look at all the branches on it. It certainly wouldn't come out smoothly. We also have the problem of the amount of bleeding. It's true that when a blade is left in a body, it acts as a plug of sorts. However, when the weapon is shaped like this, it's an entirely different story. The wound would be too large for the blade to completely stop the bleeding.
That's nothing more than conjecture. In reality, the victim was stabbed with the Shichishito. Even a weapon of this nature may still sometimes slide out smoothly, and may still sometimes stop the blood loss.
Who's making conjecture here? I'm not finished. There's still one more conclusive contradiction. You've still got more? This one is simple. If this sword really was thrust all the way into the hilt, why is there only blood on the tip of it? If this witness is telling the truth, then there should be blood along the entire length of the sword.
No!
Order!
Bravo, Miles Edgeworth. Raising this many contradictions for a single piece of evidence. All the other attorneys I know could maybe imagine one, if that.
But what does this all mean? You've proven contradictions regarding the murder weapon, but having come this far, there can only be one answer.
And that is...
the weapon used to kill the victim was not the Shichishito.
What? A foolishly foolish idea born from the foolish mind of a foolhardy foolish fool.
Let's examine this again. What was it that made us think this sword was the murder weapon?
Well, it's because Mystic Army was holding it.
Exactly. However, if we reflect on this, that is the only basis we have to assume such a thing. The impression left by the scene was just too strong. That is what influenced us. It influenced us to believe that the Shichishito was the murder weapon. Order! Order!
So maybe the Shichishito was not the murder weapon. Even if that is the case, it changes nothing, Miles Edgeworth. The sister here saw everything. She saw the defendant stab the victim with a sword-like object.
That's true. Your response, Mr. Edgeworth? If that is so, I would like the prosecution to answer the obvious question it raises. The obvious question? Yes, namely, where did the real murder weapon disappear to? It goes without saying that the police searched the main hall and the surrounding area. Perhaps the prosecution can enlighten us as to if a sword-like object was found. That's... Answer the question, Miss Von Karma.
No evidence of that kind was found.
Another mystery to throw into the pile. A trial without a murder weapon is a tricky beast.
Excuse me, could I say something? I just remembered something, actually.
What is it, sister?
I was just thinking, it's possible that just maybe what actually happened was... it was just over there.
What exactly are you going on about here?
The murder weapon, I mean. Maybe... I think I might know where the sword was disposed of.
Do what?
Well then, I think we need to hear testimony from you one more time, sister.
Impossible. What else? What else could this old woman have seen?
I saw the murder at around 11 p.m. and after asking that it be reported, I went out to the main gate. And there, I saw tracks. Tracks that indicated that the snowmobile had been used. It takes 15 minutes to walk to Zusky Bridge, but less than 5 using one of those. Maybe they threw the weapon into Eagle River and back while I was knocked out. Iris could have done that. She could drive a snowmobile after all.
Witness, please tell us everything you know right away next time.
Well, I'm not in the best of shape. What with my back and my age, you know.
Quite.
There were indeed snowmobile tracks in front of the main gate. Here's a photograph.
A snowmobile, eh? I see. Well, it certainly is an interesting theory.
The tracks begin in front of Hazakura Temple and run all the way to Dusky Bridge. That solves your pesky little problem, yes? The Eagle River's current is quite swift, meaning that it doesn't freeze over in the winter, making it the perfect place to dispose of the murder weapon.
Did she really go to the river to dispose of the murder weapon? Mr. Edgeworth, your cross-examination, please.
Alright,
You're sure about the time?
Yes, I was worried about it after all.
Why was that?
Because I have a strong sense of responsibility, especially at this time of year. The Acolyte was being doused in freezing water at the time. I couldn't very well take it easy in the bath all night now, could I? So at 11 I decided to leave Hazakura Temple.
Her estimation of the time seems reliable, at least.
Please continue, sister.
You asked Phoenix Wright to report the crime, correct?
Right. The one who trampled me.
It seems she's the type to hold a grudge.
There isn't a phone in the main hall, so I sent him to the bridge.
Phoenix Wright? He didn't even have his cell phone on him? He had forgotten it at home, apparently.
What a naive boy, as always. Not only do I always carry my phone, but I always have my whip in hand, too. Anyway, I was really scared that it was taking him a while to get back. So I thought I'd go out by the main gate for a spell.
As I recall, there was a snowmobile outside the main gate when I visited.
That's it. That's the only one we have. It'll run no matter how much snow falls.
Now you're certain the snowmobile was there at the main gate when you arrived?
Yes, of course. It was parked in front of the gate.
So she had already gone, discarded the murder weapon, and returned by that time? I'm not sure if this is really relevant. What should I do? It looks very likely that the snowmobile is related to this case. I can't help but think that Iris used it, but for what? I better hold off on this for now. Well then, witness, how long does it take to reach the bridge by snowmobile? In that case, why didn't you use it yourself? You could have spared yourself some walking.
There's a reason for that. Have we got a moment for me to explain?
I think that's why the question was asked in the first place.
It was about a month ago. I was driving my beloved little snowmobile, happy as can be. I'd fetched some water and was heading back when I went and crashed into a tree. The tree and my back both went crunch, just like that. Crunch!
Crunch. Why is it playing like a clip of coffee sipping? Like, why is it playing the coffee sound effect whenever they say crunch? Crunch.
I haven't been able to find the courage to ride anything since then. Anyway, the killer must have used it.
Refresh our memory. How long were you knocked out for?
Like I said, somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes.
It's possible to get to the bridge and back in 10 minutes using the snowmobile. I have to concede that this is more than enough time.
Is that all you wish to concede, Mr. Miles Edworth?
While it would have been possible time-wise, one element remains out of place here. Oh? Then what would this mystery element be? The killer's reasoning, Your Honor. Why did the killer do all of this? Why go to the Eagle River to dispose of the murder weapon when there are other methods? Too many unanswered questions. Your response, Miss Von Karma? Wah!
Turning to me for help over the slightest thing? Why don't you think for yourself for once in a while, Your Honor?
What? She's as over the top as always. Anyway,
whatever the reason, the fact remains that the defendant could have done this. The murder weapons were disposed of in the river. Another point to me, Miles Edworth.
Another mystery to feed the fire. Was there any reason to go and throw away the murder weapon? Luckily, there's surely a problem with this testimony. Now all I have to do is start poking holes in the flawed account. It tracks photo, I guess. I admit this photograph proves something. It proves that the snowmobile was used on the night of the murder.
You finally accepted the inevitable, it seems, Miles Edworth.
However, if what the witness says is true, then why is there only one set of tracks?
What do you mean?
Iris left Hazakura Temple, threw the weapon into the river, and then returned. If that was the case, then there would naturally be two sets of tracks in the snow. Those from heading out to the bridge and those from coming back.
You're right. You're forgetting one thing, Miles Edworth. On the night of the murder, it was snowing. The tracks leading to the bridge were erased by snowfall. This removes your precious contradiction, now doesn't it?
I see. While she was at the river, the snow stopped, leaving just the return tracks in the snow.
What do you have to say now, Miles Edworth?
Is there a flaw in her theory? This idea that the snowfall covered one set of tracks. Yeah, there is a contradiction. The tracks to the river were covered by snow. What a nice theory. However, Miss Von Karma, that is impossible.
Would you care to explain? Why is the rude index finger currently pointed in my general direction?
No need. The evidence will do all the talking for me. On the night of the murder, the killer went to and returned from Dusky Bridge. In order to dispose of the murder weapon, the outgoing tracks were erased by snow. Or so claims Miss Von Karma. Mr. Edgeworth, present your evidence to the contrary, eh? Evidence that the outgoing tracks were not covered by snow. Ultimately, it all comes down to one point. That being, whether or not it was snowing in the courtyard when the victim was stabbed.
That's right, but proving that is
incredibly easy. If we want to know whether it was snowing or not, this photo will tell us everything. Of course, I'm referring to the photo of the crime scene. As you can see, everything is covered with snow, with just one exception, and that is the victim herself, Miss Elise Donim. Why is there no snow on top of her? The answer is simple. It had stopped snowing when she was killed, that's why. In other words, if the killer really did go into the Eagle River and dispose of the murder weapon, then in this photograph there would be two sets of tracks. Order! Order! Just what are you...
Just what are you suggesting, Miles Edworth?
To be honest, I'm not entirely sure myself, but this is simply what all of the facts point to. That night, someone used the snowmobile to leave Hazakura Temple. From the tracks left, it can be understood that they were heading for Dusky Bridge. At that time, it was still snowing.
Of course it was, because those tracks were erased by the snow.
Then when this person returned to Hazakura Temple, the snow had stopped. Thus, the return tracks remained.
Can I say something? This all sounds a bit fishy to me.
What does, sister?
There's only one key for the snowmobile. Furthermore, on the night in question, we know that the defendant had it. The key was found in her room after the murder, which can only mean that night, Iris used the snowmobile to go to the inner temple.
But Iris said that she never went there. I should probably press on this point more when I get the chance.
The snowmobile can't cross the suspension bridge, so she must have left it on the Hazakura side of the bridge and crossed on foot.
That sounds right.
But what's odd is, when I left Iris and returned to Hazakura Temple, I didn't see anything near Dusky Bridge. You must have just failed to see it, sister. Maybe, but when I made it back to Hazakura Temple, it was there by the main gate. The snowmobile, I mean. You know what I know what I saw. It was covered in snow, too.
But that isn't possible. Order! Order! Order in the court! What does this all mean? So then that snowmobile... So then what was the snowmobile used for? It wasn't taken by the defendant when she went to the inner temple. If it had been, the witness couldn't possibly have seen it by the gate. Furthermore, it wasn't used by the killer to dispose of the murder weapon. If that was the case, there should be 2 sets of tracks in this photo. All we know is this. After it stopped snowing, someone used the snowmobile to return to Hazakura Temple. I never thought a simple snowmobile would cause so much trouble. I think we've learned all we can from this witness.
Yes. I've nothing more to add. I've told you everything. Everything that I know.
But then, that still leaves us with the same problem. If only there was someone, a witness who could testify to having seen the snowmobile. A witness, huh? Was there no one out walking perhaps near Dusky Bridge on that night?
I don't think that's likely. It was cold enough to freeze your ears off. Only an idiot would go out wandering in that. Unless they had something really important to do.
That's a shame. Hold on. Something is coming to me. An idiot may well have gone wandering out on that subarctic night. Your Honor, actually there just might be one individual who may be of help to us. Really? You know of someone who might have seen the snowmobile on the night of the murder? I don't know for sure if he saw it or not, but there are 2 things about him that do come to mind, which are... First, that he saw something incredible on the night of the murder, and the second being... This individual that I'm thinking of went wandering outside on that cold night. In other words, he is our kind of idiot. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this idiot you're talking about? This guy must be a product of Jean-Luc de la Duc's Guide to Obnoxious French Painting. This is Larry Botts, a disciple of the victim, Elise Donim. Her student? Interesting. Why was he outside? Why was he wandering a boot outside on the night of the murder? I couldn't tell them all about his designs for Iris, but it may cost us his credibility. It may cost us his credibility as a witness before I even call him. He is, after all, an artist. He was perhaps searching for something in the snowy scenery that would move him, although I cannot guarantee that this is the reason. And so, this unfortunate, unreliable-looking man, what exactly was it that he saw? I intend to extract that from him right here in this courtroom. Summon this youth as a witness immediately. I have no choice, do I? I believe he is in the gallery for this trial. It will not take long to summon him. Very well. Larry. You may have escaped me yesterday, but today I'm going to get everything out of you. The court will now adjourn for a 20-minute break. Miss Von Karma, please see to preparing the next witness.
Understood, Your Honor.
Good. Well then, court is now in recess.
Whew, how long was that? Okay, just over an hour. It's not bad. All right, I guess yeah, well, I guess next episode we're gonna get Larry's testimony. Can't wait to do that voice again. But if you enjoyed this video, then no further actions required on your part, and we'll see you next episode.